and I'm about to give you your Diddy trial verdict watch update. Now, I am sitting outside, and I am giving y'all this live, and I am going to be honest with you. These trees are tearing me up again. They're tearing me up again, okay? It's a lot that's going on. There are a lot of people that are out here. It's a lot of movement, a lot of energy that is going on. Can y'all hear me okay? Tell me, can you hear me okay?
This thing over, huh? This thing over.
I don't feel like carrying tonight. Honey, but I don't feel like it.
Yeah, not like that. I'm talking about, I think that.
Yes, you can hear me? Okay, good.
It's still going?
They haven't given a verdict yet. It's not up. It's 12:55.
So they're going to break for some kind of lunch, so the kids going to get about it.
They just left.
My family left me? Oh, shit. Andy, why you calling for my family going to lunch?
First of all, I didn't know where you were.
I want to eat food.
We going next. Candy, we love you. Oh, thank you.
That makes me
Love
happy.
you. I love you.
Thank you. That's what I said. See what I mean? When we get through the first video,
I'm going to give y'all the update in a minute.
I need a photo.
I got to go to a spot.
Y'all did it right. Y'all use y'all other weapons on her. You did it right.
Hold on, you guys. I'm
Oh
coming.
my God. Yo, you made it as far as to be Candy's new wife. Oh my God. Yo, what's this? This is, look. This is Candy's new
That's
wife.
exactly what I was looking for.
She's mine. I only love her.
Right.
The ice cream place. Did you leave it out?
All right, hold on, y'all.
Well, I followed it. It's in my
There's just
bag.
a lot going on. It's a lot going on. It's a lot.
I just purchased ice cream.
Not only that, I'm not in the front often at all. I'm going to give y'all the update. So, yes, we have had a note that came out. We've got a lot that has happened, but at the same time, not enough that has happened. The temperature out here is rising. And I don't just mean the summertime temperature. What I mean is, baby, there are a lot of people that have jumped ship, okay? They jumping ship, y'all. They jumping ship. You got one more West Gotti, and then you out of here. Don't do that. All right, so today we start off with a note that came in from the jury. First of all, yesterday, the jury was asking about distribution, okay? They were asking that if someone is given, somebody asks for an illegal substance and you give it to them as a distribution. The judge rejected the defense's proposal and went with the government. So basically that means yes. So again, if y'all have been watching my channel, y'all know that I'm not about the hype, the propaganda, the bull, none of that. What I'm doing is trying to show y'all. Bye, Tim Tims. Hello from the other side. You will be now talking to yourself. Anyway, y'all can't share nothing with nobody, okay? Today they sent the note out, and let me get my notepad, and let me give y'all what the goings on was about the note. So the jury gave them the note, and Diddy came back in the courtroom. Okay, so we see all of the lawyers were there in the courtroom from the government and the defense's side. And when this jury note came in, the defense passed it. Once they read it, they went into moving around like it was a frenzy. They moving around. Diddy comes out from the back. They give him the note for him to read. They're on their laptops. The government is on their laptops. The defense is huddling. Diddy is reading. And when Diddy finally finished reading the note, Mark went and sat next to him. And there's a woman in there. I can't remember her name, but she looks like she could be related to Teeny Garagos. All right. So she comes out. I mean, she's sitting next to him, and they're showing him stuff on the laptop, and they're explaining stuff to him. And those of us who are watching, we're observing. There's no sound, so we can't hear what's going on. We can only watch, right? Y'all, all of us started thinking like, what the hell is in that note? Because from the way it looked, it looked like it could have been something bad. I'm not even gonna hold you. That's the way it looked. But then I was like, you know what, guys, we could be reaching right now in what's actually happening. It could be a note that leads to nothing. How about you go listen to it and leave me the hell alone? Anyway, so after they finish explaining everything to Diddy, there's a moment where he crossed his hands like this and he drops his head. So of course now people in the overflow room are talking, they're whispering, they're like, oh man, this doesn't look good. Diddy looked like he just was having a moment with himself. Excuse me. So as the government is sitting at their laptops and they're like calmly typing up whatever they're typing up and taking their notes, the defense is over in huddles and talking to Diddy and all of that. They're moving around, all right? At one point, Westmoreland went over to the jury box. She kind of like put her head down as well. I don't know what that was about, but I'm just telling y'all what the movement was so that y'all can understand why people were starting to jump to conclusions, right? So Teeny hands AUSA Comey the note. Then Teeny, hold on you guys. Okay, so now, first of all, who's close to the city? Bring me one of these, please. Bring me a Geek Bar Pulse X, please, or a XL. This is white peach raspberry. I like white peach raspberry. And I don't know what this one is, but oh, Metamoon, somebody bring me one, please. Please and thank you. I'll send you the money. Hit me on Instagram. Anyway, now let's get back to the notes. So Teeny and AUSA Johnson, they meet with their laptops, okay? And Mark and Nicole is standing by. And then we find out what the note is about, okay? The jury is asking for transcripts. What do they want parts of the transcript for? They want parts of the transcripts because they would like to review Cassie's testimony about the Intercontinental Hotel incident, the incident in Cannes, and the incident with Daniel Phillips. Now, if you remember, Daniel Phillips is one of the escorts that came in and testified. And he testified that while he was there with Cassie, he witnessed Diddy putting hands on Cassie. All right, and it affected the way that he was able to perform going forward from there. They also wanted Daniel Phillips' testimony about the Essex Hotel incident. Now, Johnson said that the Kane event, the events following, they agreed on 3 of the 4 lines. The government was objecting to specific lines, which was lines 21 and 22. And the defense is saying what happened when Diddy was angry, and they referenced to a freak off right after, right? The defense doesn't want that. I'm sorry, the government wasn't objecting. The defense was objecting. So the defense doesn't want it in. The government says it should go in because right after that, it was a freak off, okay? The judge says that he would exclude the 2 lines and cut the testimony at line 20. So that was the decision on the Cannes incident. The government and the defense would continue to work on getting information pertaining to the Intercontinental Hotel, right? Daniel Phillips' issue was that the defense agreed with everything but page 283, line 11 through 6, okay? They said the defense was arguing that they don't want it in because it doesn't deal with what happened after. Oh my God. One thing you could count on is these sirens to be going off while you talking. Anyway, so in the end, the judge ruled to include lines 11 through 16. Cassie's Intercontinental Hotel incident, the government's position is what happened there are text messages They wanted some instances showing what happened after, where we had seen on a chart that Diddy was actually texting her being Cassie. He was texting her multiple times after the incident went down. And so they want certain parts in. Now the government of the defense wants the post that Mark Garrigo spoke to in the closing when he was talking about her saying that domestic violence is the issue. So the government doesn't want the IG post in there. However, the defense wants it in because it deals with the Intercontinental Hotel. The defense also wanted to put in the fact that Cassie got a $10 million lawsuit from the Intercontinental Hotel. However, the judge blocked that because he said that really doesn't have anything to do with it. And there was a lot of back and forth that was going on when it pertained to just what could and couldn't go in with the Intercontinental Hotel. At one point, the judge said, you know what, let's just give the jury the whole transcript. But the whole transcript of Cassie's testimony is 4 days long. Not only is it 4 days long, it's like 800 and semi pages. So they came to a consensus. The government withdrew. The judge ruled that they could keep the IG post in, and the government and the defense came to an agreement that they would put testimony that came in showing the days before and the days after the Intercontinental Hotel incident, because all of it goes together. How they set it up, what happened after, even the conversation about them talking about it was a bad batch. Even the part where it showed that he was calling her and telling her that the police were coming and they weren't there. So what does all of this mean, Henny? This means that we are now at the SCX trafficking portion of the predicates is what it's looking like. So if we're at the SCX portion of the predicates, that means that we could be getting, I'm not saying we are getting. So don't go twisting it up and say, Henny said, Henny ain't say that. Henny said we could be getting a verdict today. Yesterday it was about the distribution, which is one of the predicate acts, and now today they're asking about Cassie. And the only incidents where Cassie shows up is in the SCX trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution. That's where Cassie and Jane start to show up. So now that they're there, where are we? Could we get this verdict? Now, what I need everybody to understand is SCX trafficking and transportation to engage in prostitution are predicate acts as well as standalone charges. So if they find him guilty of the trafficking and they find him guilty of the transportation, that means that he will be found guilty with the other two, right? That's what it looks like. I don't know. I'm not in the jury room. I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on the internet. I'm just somebody who looks things up. I don't know, but I would like to see what's going to happen. I'm not, if you look at the charges, which I'm going to read to everybody, because a lot of people don't know what the charges were from the judge or what the law is from the judge, but want to come and speak and want to talk about and do all of that stuff, take shots. I actually read them, so I understand what's going on. This right here, to me, for me personally, this is an emotional day. I'm not in good spirits. I'm not high in spirits. I'm actually feeling kind of melancholy right now. Because like I told y'all, this case is deeper than just innocent or guilty. It's deeper than just that. There's a lot in this case that we need to pay attention to. Like I just told y'all, they allowed, if I ask you for an e-pill and you give it to me, that's distribution now. Nobody wants to look at that. Everybody want to be caught up in the hype. Nobody's looking at it. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for everybody in here. Your comments are turned off. So if you're popping it in the comment section, sweetheart, I'm not seeing it. I don't care. I don't care. What I have learned in watching this case has been people will move on emotion and not bother to educate themselves. My people perish for lack of knowledge. My people perish for lack of knowledge. The charges are there. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do y'all one better. since I got the comments off. So I can't see none of the nasty, hateful, mean-spirited stuff that some of y'all say in the comment section. I'm gonna educate my people a little something, something. That's what I'm gonna do. Child, let me explain something. The looks that I'm in, the way people are acting towards me, ridiculous. Ridiculous. Hold on, I'm opening my email now so that I can read for y'all. Okay, I've got quite a few updates in my inbox. Let me get to these jury charges for y'all. Oh no, that's not the charges. Hold on, you guys. I got y'all right now. I can't find it now. Hold on, guys, because I have it. Unsealed document. Blank verdict sheet. Okay, where is it? Okay, here it goes. The jury charges. This is what we're reading, okay? All right. Function of the court and role of the jury. You have now heard all the evidence in the case as well as the final arguments of the parties. My duty at this point is to instruct you as to the law. It is your duty to accept these instructions of law and apply them to the facts as you determine them. On the legal matters, you must take the law as I give it to you. This is the judge talking to the jury. If any attorney has stated a legal principle different from any that I state to you in my instructions, it is my instructions that you must follow. This is what Judge Arun is telling the jury. You should not single out any instruction as long stating the law, but you should consider my instructions as a whole when you retire to deliberate in the jury room. And you should know that you're going to be able to take a copy of these instructions into the jury room. Your final role is to pass upon and decide the fact issues that are in the case. You, the members of the jury, are the sole and exclusive judges of the facts. Okay? You pass upon the weight of the evidence. You determine the credibility of the witnesses. You resolve such conflicts as there may be in the testimony. And you draw whatever reasonable inferences you decide to draw from the credibility or believability of a witness. Okay? Now, it goes on to say, in determining the facts, you must rely upon your own recollection of the evidence. The evidence before you consists of answers given by witnesses, the testimony they gave as you recall it, and the exhibits that were received in evidence. What the lawyers have said in opening statements, in closing statements, in objections, in questions are not evidence. This is the judge to the jury. So all of that that's going on is not evidence. Anything that they said is not evidence, okay? What the lawyers, okay, so only the answers are evidence, but you are not you may not consider any answer that I directed you to disregard. So anything that the judge has told the jury to disregard, they're not to consider it. You may also consider the stipulations of the parties as evidence. Since you are the sole and executive judges of the facts, I do not mean to indicate any opinion as to the facts or what your verdict should be. All right? The rulings I have made during the trial are not any indication of my views of what your decision should be as to whether or not the guilt of the defendant has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. I hope y'all are listening. You are to perform the duty of finding the facts without bias or prejudice to any party. All right? Number 2, government treated like any other party. The fact that the prosecution is brought in the name of the United States of America entitles the government to no greater consideration than that accorded to any other party to litigation. By the same token, it is entitled to no less consideration. All parties, whether government or individuals, stand as equals at the bar of justice. So that means it doesn't matter who it is. It don't matter that it's the government. It don't matter if it's the defense. It don't matter if it's Diddy. Everybody is equal, okay? 3, the burden of proof. Now, I will instruct you on the presumption of innocence and the government's burden of proof in this case. The defendant has pled not guilty, but by doing so, he denies the charges in the indictment. Thus, the government has the burden of proving the charges against the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt, okay? The defendant is presumed innocent, and he does not have to prove his innocence. Remember, I keep telling y'all that. They don't have to prove innocence. That is not the defense's job. That is the government's job. The defense's job is to poke holes in the government's story, to create smoke and mirrors, and to plant seeds of reasonable doubt within people. That's what it is. So the defense, whether you like them or not, the defense has done their job, and they're damn good, okay? This presumption of innocence was in the defendant's favor at the start of the trial, continued in his favor throughout the entire trial, is in his favor even as I instruct you now, and continues in his favor during the course of your deliberations in the jury room. The government has the burden of proof in this case. The presumptions of innocence is removed as to defendant if and only if, as members of the jury, are satisfied that the government has sustained its burden of proving the guilt of the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt. The question that naturally arises is, what is reasonable doubt? A reasonable doubt is a doubt based on your reason. The judgment, your experience, your judgment, your experience, and your common sense, okay? It is a doubt that a reasonable person has after carefully weighing all the evidence, okay? It is a doubt founded in reason and arising out of the evidence in the case or lack of evidence. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean proof beyond all possible doubt, okay? It is practically impossible for a person to be absolutely and completely convinced of any disputed fact that, by its very nature, cannot be proven with methodical certainty. The government's burden is to establish guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, not all possible doubt. So what they're saying is the government's job is just to present the case, and it doesn't have to be all doubt. Even if you have a twinge of doubt, that's fine, but it has to be reasonable. It has to be logical. It has to make sense. It's basically what he's saying. Again, if you're just getting here, double tap the screen. I am reading the judge's charges to the jury. That's what I'm reading to you guys. We're reading the judge's charges to the jury. This is what the jury is back there deliberating. Well, I'm not going to say this is what they're deliberating on, but these are the charges from the judge, the laws as he broke them down for the jury, so we could all be on one accord, okay? If after a fair and impartial consideration of all evidence, you can candidly and honestly say that you have an abiding belief of the defendant's guilt, such belief as a prudent person would not hesitate to act upon in important matters in the personal affairs of his or her own life, then you have no reasonable doubt. And under such circumstances, it is your duty to convict. So basically, in your everyday life, if this is not something that you deem to be, oh, that's not what this is, or if you say that is what this is, that's what they're saying. Judge it against your everyday life. All right. Okay, then you have no reasonable doubt. On the other hand, if after a fair and impartial consideration of all the evidence, you can candidly and honestly say that you are not satisfied with the guilt of the defendant, that you do not have an abiding belief of the defendant's guilt. In other words, if you have such a doubt as would reasonably cause a prudent person to hesitate in acting in matters of importance in his or her own affairs, then you have reasonable doubt. In that circumstance, it is your duty to acquit, okay? Now, let's get down to all right, we have the indictment. All right, the defendant Sean Combs has been formally charged in an indictment. An indictment is not evidence, okay? As I instruct you at the outset of this case, the indictment is a charge or accusation. So the indictment is not evidence, you guys. It's not evidence. It's just where the charges are, okay? It merely describes the charges made against the defendant. An indictment is a formal method of bringing a case into the court for trial and determination by a jury. It creates no presumption that a crime was committed, and no inference of any kind may be drawn from the indictment. So they're basically telling you, look, the indictment is what brought the charges forward, but it is not evidence. So you can't use that as evidence while y'all are in the back deliberating, all right? All right, the fact that the defendant is the subject of the indictment and is on trial here may not be used against him in any way. So you can't use that, they can't use that indictment against him as evidence, all right? Now let's get down here to the summary of the indictment so everybody can get on one accord and understand exactly what it is that he's looking at. All right. The indictment contains 5 counts against the defendant. I'm briefly going to summarize each count, and then I will give you the law in greater detail. Count 1 charges that from at least in or about 2004 through 2024, the defendant conspired or agreed with others to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of an enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity in violation of Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1962D. Count 2 charges that from at least in or about 2009 up to and including in or about 2018, the defendant committed SEX trafficking of Cassandra Ventura by force, threats of force, fraud, or coercion, or any combination of such means in violation of Title 18 U.S. Code Section 1591, okay? And 2. Count 3 charges that from at least in or about 2009 up to and including in or about 2018, the defendant did knowingly transport individuals, including but not limited to, listen to that, including but not limited to Ventura. This is where you got the escorts coming into play, okay? In interstate and foreign commerce, which with intent that such individuals engage in prostitution. Count 4 charges that from at least in or about 2021 up to and including in or about 2024, the defendant committed SEX trafficking of Jane by force, threats of force, fraud, or coercion, or any combination of such means, all right? Count 5 of the indictment charges that between in or about 2001 up to and including in or about 2024, the defendant did knowingly transport individuals, including but not limited to Jane, which again brings the escorts into the fold, okay? Now, I'm going to pause there for a second because a lot of y'all were not in court, and I don't think a lot of people have talked about this part. But the last two people to take the stand in this trial were agents that actually were showing you text messages that showed how freak-offs were being set up, with Diddy saying out of his mouth, "I'll get the place, you get the entertainment." So it shows that the two of them were setting these things up, right? And it showed a travel agent booking airline tickets for either Jane or Cassie or the escorts, or Jane and Cassie with escorts together at the same time. You see the travel agent purchased the ticket. You see the hotel room being booked. You see the flight that leaves out. You see the date that the hotel ends. You see the damage that was done to the hotel as well in those moments. So they pieced together evidence that shows you that on more than one occasion, he paid for the flights, he paid for the hotel room, he paid for the damages after, which means that he was bringing it in. This is what they showed us, okay? Don't get mad at me. Don't start coming for me. I'm telling you what they showed us in court, and I'm telling you what it says in the judge's charges. If you don't like it, then you come down here to 500 Pearl Street. Take your ass up there to 26th floor and go in there and see Judge Arun Submaranian, because this, as a matter of fact, go over there and see all of them. I'm just telling y'all the story. I do not hold a personal stake in none of this, all right? But I'm telling y'all what they showed us. And they showed it for Jane, and they showed it for Cassie. All right, listen, I have no reason to lie to y'all. I don't gain nothing from this. You understand? Anyway, let's get down here to what they say attempt is, all right? Because remember, it says attempted things and all of that. Well, it says, before I instruct you on each count, I will define 3 concepts and attempt to commit a crime: aiding and abetting, and the commission of a crime, willfully causing a crime. The definition I provide here are for federal offenses only. So these are not for state. This is for federal offenses only. Because remember, they have some state. They're charging kidnapping according to New York and California laws. They're charging the bribery according to California laws. So they're not talking about, when they're giving this instruction, it doesn't pertain to those parts of the case right there. They're talking about the federal charges that have no state attached to them, okay? So it says, and each time the government alleges an attempt, aiding and abetting, or willfully causing a crime under federal law, I will refer you back to these definitions. Where state law is at issue, I will separately give you the definition to use. All right, so we're dealing with federal right now. Under federal law, in order to find a person guilty under an attempt theory, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that 1, the person intended to commit the crime charged, and 2, the person willfully took some action that was a substantial step in an effort to bring about or accomplish the crime. Okay, that's what they're saying with attempt. Mere intention to commit a specific crime does not amount to an attempt. In order to convict the person of an attempt, listen y'all, you must find beyond a reasonable doubt that he intended to commit the crime charged, and that he took some action which was a substantial step towards the commission of the crime. All right? In determining whether the person's actions amounted to a substantial step towards the commission of the crime, you must distinguish between mere participation on the one hand and the actual doing of the crime deed on another. Mere partition without more is not an attempt. All right? The act of a person who intends to commit a crime and the acts are a substantial step in the course of conduct planned to accumulate in the commission of the crime. To be guilty of an attempted crime, there is no requirement that the person have actually committed the crime he was attempting to commit. So basically, he doesn't have, whoever it is, they don't have to all the way commit the crime. They don't have to be successful in committing the crime. Just the mere fact that they tried to commit the crime is what they're telling you. That is what attempt is. All right, aiding and abetting. Next, I will define for you the concept of aiding and abetting under federal law. Whoever aids, abets, counsels, commands, induces, or procures the commission of an offense is punishable as a principle. You should give these words their ordinary meaning. A person aids or abets a crime if he knowingly does some act for the purpose of aiding or encouraging the commission of that crime with the intent of causing the crime charge to be committed. Okay? To counsel means to give advice or recommend. So even if he counseled them, even if you counsel them, you counsel somebody, you're aiding and abetting. If you're counseling them into a crime, you're aiding and abetting. This is what I'm saying. Like, we've got to pay attention here. Fuck all that other shit y'all talking about. Because I bet you didn't know that. Because I didn't know that. I guarantee you by the time I finish this shit, you're going to be looking back like, whoa, have I committed that? Anyway, to induce means to lead or move by persuasion or influence as to some action or state of mind. To induce, okay, so to procure means to bring about an unscrupulous or indirect meaning or indirect means. To cause means to bring something about or affect something. All right? So they've broken all of that down. A person who aids and abets another to commit an offense is just as guilty of the offense as if he had committed it himself. Did you hear that? Someone who aids and abets is just as guilty as someone who commits the crime. Therefore, if you find that the government has proven beyond a reasonable doubt that a person aided and abetted another individual's commission of an offense, then you may find the person guilty of that offense. All right? As you see, the first requirement is that another individual has committed the crime charged. Obviously, no one can be convicted of aiding and abetting the criminal acts of another if no crime was committed by the other individual. But if you find that a crime was committed, then you must evaluate whether the person you are considering the alleged aider and abetter actually aided and abetted to other individuals' commission of crime. Okay? I want to get into. All right, so let's get into some of the juicy stuff. It is hot as hell out here. I am sweating. And I'm trying to sip water and mind my business.
Yeah, what do you think? Do you think he's going to walk today? Do you think he's coming out? Hungry, so what is that? I'm not guilty. Okay, so you think he's going to come out? You think he's going to walk today outside?
Child, here it come.
Guilty, hungry, what do you think? Guilty or not guilty?
Anyway, let me get back to my... Oh, that girl Henny reviews.
Okay, so what the fuck that is?
You probably have. Oh, thank you. Henny reviews. All right, so count 1, racketeering conspiracy. Elements of the racketeering conspiracy. Count 1 charges the defendant with conspiracy to violate a Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, otherwise known as the RICO statute. In order to prove that the defendant conspired to violate the RICO statute, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt each of the following elements of the offense. First, that in or about 2004 through in or about 2024, there was an agreement among 2 or more persons to conduct or participate in the affairs of an enterprise through a pattern of racketeering actions. Okay, that's 1. 2, the racketeering enterprise or its activity should have affected or in fact affected interstate and foreign commerce. 3, the defendant knowingly and willfully joined that agreement. And 4, that the defendant knowingly and willfully agreed that he or another member of the conspiracy would commit 2 racketeering acts, as I will define the term for you. Okay, so first element, agreement to conduct or participate in affairs. The first element of government must establish beyond a reasonable doubt is if there was a conspiracy among two or more persons to conduct or participate in the affairs of an enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activities. So remember yesterday I was telling y'all that they established enterprise and they broke it down. That the enterprise, at the top of the enterprise was Diddy. The next layer in the enterprise was KK and the security. And then on the bottom, which would be like the foot soldiers. So you had, the foot soldiers would be like the assistants. This is what they said. Don't freaking come for me because I'm telling you what they said. A conspiracy is an agreement amongst two or more people to achieve an unlawful object. To show a conspiratorial agreement, the government must prove that two or more persons explicitly or implicitly came to an understanding to achieve the specific unlawful object. Okay? In order for the government to satisfy this element, you need not find that the alleged member of the conspiracy met together and entered into an expressed formal agreement. Similarly, you need not find that the alleged conspirators stated in words or writing what the scheme was, its object or purpose, or even precise detail of the scheme or means by which its object or purpose was to be accomplished. What the government must prove is that there was a mutual understanding, either spoken or unspoken. Did you hear that? Either spoken or unspoken, between two or more people to cooperate with each other to accomplish an unlawful object. So they don't have to sit down like how in the La Cosa Nostra, they sit down, they have the boss, they have the underboss, they have the lieutenants, they got the foot soldiers, they got the henchmen, they don't have to sit down and do none of that. And with the La Cosa Nostra, they plead an oath. They take an oath to enter into La Cosa Nostra. But what they're saying right here is they don't have to do any of that. They can do this through word or by deed. It doesn't have to be spoken, okay? What the government must prove, okay. You may, of course, find that the existence of an agreement to achieve the unlawful object has been established by direct proof. However, since conspiracy is, by its very nature, categorized by secrecy, you may also infer to instances from the circumstances of this case and the conduct of the parties involved. The conduct meaning their actions, all right? In the context of conspiracy case, actions may speak louder than words. Actions may speak louder than words. In this regard, you may, in determining whether an agreement exists here, consider the actions and statements of all those you find to be participants as proof that a common design existed on the part of the persons charged to act together to accomplish the unlawful object. In this case, the alleged unlawful object is to violate the RICO statute, okay? An enterprise is a group of people or entities that have associated together for a common purpose of engaging in a course of conduct. This group, in addition to having common purpose, must have an ongoing organization, either formal or informal and structure. And it must be a core of personnel who function as a continuing unit. This group does not have to be a legally recognized organization, such as a partnership or a corporation. That's racketeering, all right? That's enterprise of the racketeering. Guys, this is like a 62-page document, all right? And I'm getting hot, and I really don't want to end the live, but I mean, I'm hot. All right. So now here go the predicates. All right, the predicate acts. Act 1 is kidnapping. The first category of criminal violation is kidnapping, chargeable under California and New York law. All right. And I'm wondering if they've already ruled on this in the room. Because if you go off of this sheet, they have already talked about, they've already sent a note yesterday asking about distribution. So that would mean that they have already established that there was an enterprise, because they wouldn't be asking about the predicate acts if they didn't. I don't know, but I'm waiting to see what the jury is going to say. I am going to finish reading that document to you guys, but I think I gave y'all a little bit of tidbit into RICO and racketeering, and I hope that you guys are actually sitting back listening to what I just read to you and absorbing it, because from the sounds of this, you and your peoples could end up in a damn RICO just from knowing each other and doing certain things with each other. And that's according to the laws that the judge charged to the jury. And I'm not even finished, because we haven't even gotten into the distribution. We haven't gotten into the trafficking. We haven't gotten into the kidnapping. We haven't gotten into the bribery. We haven't gotten into the forced labor. We haven't gotten into any of those things, you guys. So today, whether there's a verdict or not, I will read for y'all those charges. Now I'm going to turn on my chat. Y'all better be in here being nice. Okay, King Kong said, Cassie part of the conspiracy. Cassie, Jane, I keep saying this, Cassie, Jane, and the assistants that have testified would have been considered co-conspirators, participants, because they were a part of this. This is why they were given immunity. This is why they were given immunity. Will he walk? I don't know. I'm not in that room. But what I will say is this jury seems to be moving through things very quickly. Very quickly. What you mean it should be somebody else? Thank you, Mama Joycelyn, for saying that. She said they were given immunity. No one ever said Cassie and all the assistants were innocent. And it's not Cassie versus Diddy. Thank you for saying that. Well, Matt Q, we'll see. Just based off of what I've seen for myself as tangible evidence, as far as what they are talking about when it comes to the trafficking and the transportation, I believe they proved that. I believe they proved that. They were able to show records that back that up. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't have a stake in this, guilty or innocent. I don't. This does not affect me personally, you guys. Like, that is affecting you guys. I see it. But I do not have a stake in this. I just came and read y'all the jury charges. But it is hot out here, you guys. When I say hot, it's hot, okay? All the content creators, for the most part, are outside. All right? Over there, you see all the content creators outside. Everybody is out here. I'm about to take my behind back upstairs because I am melting, okay? Thank you, Swagalo. Sounds like they made it 2 counts. It's not. It's 5 counts. It's 5 counts. You have the conspiracy to commit racketeering. You have the transportation of Cassie, the transportation of Jane. You have the trafficking of Cassie and the trafficking of Jane as well. So I don't know how this is gonna go. I'm going to tell y'all right now, and I'm going to be very honest with y'all. If he's found guilty, I will be sad. I will be sad. Well, you do. It sets a precedence. They can start doing it to everybody. That's what I've been saying, Matt Hughes. I don't know. I think this is being done to make it easier when they come for regular people. That's a possibility. It's sad because it's another one of ours going down. That's why I'll be sad if they find him guilty. What y'all think? I'm gonna be out here celebrating and throwing a ticker tape parade? No. Jail is not rehabilitative. Jail does not rehabilitate anyone at all. I'm not an advocate for locking people up. I'm not. Y'all seem to forget. I have a son that's doing 25 years, and he didn't unalive anybody. It's just the points and the crimes and his history, it landed him with 25 years. So you think I want my son to be in jail? Jail is not the answer for everything, and that's what people have to realize. Y'all got to stop making this about guilt and innocence. Y'all got to stop that. Y'all talking about change the laws, change the punishments as well. He should be mandated to therapy and rehabilitation. That's what he should be mandated to. Should he do some time? Maybe, but not 30 years. That's a man's life. You take a man's whole life away from him. A man's whole life away. Let me explain something to y'all, which y'all don't know about me. My son went into prison when he was 20. My son is now 30. He was sentenced to 25. His whole youth was taken away from him. You think I wanted that? So you think I want to see this man go down for 30 years? Is that what y'all really think? Y'all don't know me, and that's what it is. Y'all don't know me. All this time I've been showing you guys the law, how the prosecution built this case, and a lot of y'all that come in here and want to talk about is, will he walk? Free Diddy. That's what y'all want to talk about. But y'all don't want to talk about the fact that everyday people can now be caught up in a RICO. We can all just catch federal charges without even realizing what it is that we're doing. We can agree to go on a girls' trip. And during that girls' trip, we all agree and we all buy our own little personal stash of E, our own little 2C. And we meet some people. And so we share our illegal substances with them, and now we distribute it. And then they follow us back home, and we fly them out or whatever, and we make a link with them, and we have SCX with them. But even though we didn't pay for them, they benefited by us bringing them to us, so there was still a benefit. So now you're going to jail for trafficking? A female can get mad at you. A female can get mad at a man who flew her out and decide to go home and say he forced me. Can decide to go home and say he trafficked me. Y'all not picking up what I'm putting down. Maybe I'm too deep down the rabbit hole for the average person. And that's what it is. This ain't about, This isn't about innocence or guilt to me. This is about what's going on. Thank you, Angie. Yeah, I'm about to go back upstairs for a little while and stay for a little bit longer, and then I'm going home. But I'll be here tomorrow, if there's a tomorrow, because they may give a verdict today, because they're already on. Is that Danza Project? They're already talking about Cassie, which would be trafficking. They're at that part. If they're talking about Cassie.
They did drugs yesterday, but the thing is, they looked at the testimony because remember after at the hotel, she eventually, like a few days later, she sent this text that said, we had some bad drugs and that was bad trips. So the thing is, they're putting those two together.
I'm about to go over there because I think I know who that is, and I don't think other people know who he is. I don't know if this is him or not. I'm about to see.
CBS, they would have the inside scoop.
That is ridiculous. No, that's not him. Hold on. Now look at this.
Don't do the action. Hold on with the action. Deal with the action. Barney says they need arrested. My work is a fact. Listen, Barney gave me to get that Cambodia. Got me my own personal bottle of Afro-Black. I ain't never heard of this. Now I want to be the slide right there. Put the slide on the Afro. Put the slide on the Afro. In the whole room, like this. I can do it to the whole room like this. I'm all look. I have a multiple head like this. Dual action. Dual action. Look, a dual action. Look. Look, you're wiping up the real side. Don't do that.
All right, y'all. So I'm about to whip y'all around to the front real quick, and then I think I'm going inside, you guys, because I'm really just right now. I really don't feel too good, if I'm being honest with y'all. I think I overdid it sitting in the sun. There go Miss Knockout. Hey, Miss Knockout, how are you?
I'll get married if I meet a nice guy, but until then, I'm having the time of my life.
Excuse me. This is what it's looking like out here, y'all.
Still here, like, to report on.
You need to come down. There's no reason
None of my songs. I hope none of my songs.
They have, the media has moved their cameras to here. Okay, they have the microphone set up in case there is a press announcement that is made. So they have their mics set up over here. So yeah, if we get a verdict today, I will be trying to get y'all the shot. That's all I can say. Honestly, I'm not feeling well, so I'm about to end the live and go inside. Thank you to everybody who was tapped in and tuned in. Welcome to all of the new subscribers. Shout out to the replay gang. And I will talk to y'all later because I don't do good in the heat and the sun, and I feel like I'm getting sick. So bye, y'all.